The Qualify Part command, located in the Home tab Part Group More Edit Gallery, allows you to define important information about a part file specifically for use in an electrical routing assembly. It is essential that you qualify part files such as connectors that you will use in your assembly to take full advantage of the electrical routing application. There's quite a bit on the Qualify Part dialog, but most of it is optional and unnecessary for most scenarios. The option at the top allows you to define the type of part and the drop-down to the right a specific subtype. You'll likely only be qualifying fittings. You might only qualify stock if you are setting up a library as an administrator. The list below these options contains a tree structure of routing objects that you can define. Ports are most important, and beneath this node are three types. A fitting port represents the termination point of a routing path. A fixture port represents a point through which a routing path passes. For example, clips and clamps that secure a harness should have a fixture port. A multi-port represents a connection that has multiple pins, such as this 9-pin connector. You can create just the port, which is a virtual port, or you can take the time to assign terminals for each pin. This is known as a terminal port. Below the routing object list is a row of buttons that you can use to create and manage the routing objects. For example, selecting Fitting in the tree makes the New button available. However, you can also right-click the fitting node, and the command is available on the pop-up menu. You'll learn more about creating ports in the next 3 documents. It's unlikely you'll create any routing objects in the rest of the list, but it's at least worth talking about the next 2. A built-in path defines the portion of a routing path that is inside a connector. An anchor is a point that you define that is used for placing the part when using the Place Part command. For example, you could define an anchor here. However, if you are careful when defining your port, you can simply use that when placing the connector. The Qualify Part dialog is also used to edit any of the existing routing objects. I'll change the displayed part to one from the standard parts library and invoke the Qualify Part command. You notice that both the fitting and multi-nodes can be expanded, and there are also symbols displaying in the graphics window representing the defined ports. Selecting the fitting port in the dialog highlights it in the graphics window and makes a few buttons available, which are also available by right-clicking the port, where you can select Edit to change the port's definition. This is the same for the multi-port. Notice its symbol in the graphics window is a double arrow as opposed to a single arrow for the fitting port. Expand the port to view the individual pins. Selecting one makes another command available called Assign Terminals, which you will learn more about later in this course.